Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moment. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Swallowed Star 2 episode number 64 based on novel. So let's start. A woman in green stood on a high building, looking at the vast Chu capital from afar. Is it worth coming to Chu city for the purpose of cultivation? The woman in green thought silently. When she was in the small town on the edge, there were only dozens of eternal true gods in the city. With her strength, she was one of the strongest in the city, so her life was naturally very comfortable. In this small town on the edge, I will never be able to obtain a powerful inheritance, and there is no hope of breaking through the Chaos Realm. After arriving in Chudu, I obtained the inheritance that suits me in a short period of time. I even obtained a lot of resources. Now I have reached the ultimate strength of the eternal true God. The woman in green thought. They have both inheritance and resources, their strength has also increased, and they have mastered several Chaos Realm techniques, so they see a glimmer of hope in breaking through to the Chaos Realm. I got the opportunity, but trouble also came. The woman in green was also in a headache. If it weren't for the help of my good friend Chu, I'm afraid I would be living a life worse than death now. But Marquis Chu, as the third-ranking member of the royal family, does not have any real power. The woman in green has been in Chu City for a long time. She came here to build the Chu building and gradually attracted many guests with music and magic, and even many distinguished guests who admired her. There are many forces in Chu City. She paid some price and exchanged for the inheritance of cultivation and some resources. I have been very careful in Chu City, taking every step cautiously, and even dared not control the mind of any distinguished guest. Who would have thought that trouble would still come? The woman in green was also very uncomfortable. The forces in the capital of Chu were so intertwined that even the first-class dukes of the royal family were fighting each other fiercely. She was a small eternal true god, and even though she was very careful, she was still drawn into the vortex of darkness. The woman in green suddenly saw two figures approaching. A man in black with a simple and honest servant. Luo, great sage? The woman in green naturally recognized the person at a glance. Her heart trembled and she felt that the sky seemed to be much brighter. She immediately took the initiative to greet him. The main building of Chu building. Let's play some music that we are good at. Luo Feng sat there while Morosa ate and drank beside him. He had long been accustomed to his master's love of listening to some music. But he, a world beast, had no interest in music. Luo Feng was quite interested. There had been many performers at the previous Dao discussion banquet, but such occasions were not suitable for performing the 7 emotions mind-refining method. Before coming, Luo Feng collected some information. There were 3 people at the banquet who were the best at music and magic. The woman in green was named Yu Yi. She was from a small town on the edge of the ancient country of Yangfeng. She was now in big trouble, which was related to General Shuadan, the general of Chudu. You can't avoid trouble in a place like Chudu just because you want to. Luo Feng thought. When he first came to Chudu, he was in seclusion and didn't cause any trouble, but didn't Marquis Chu Yuan, Marquis Chu Ji and the 3 guest officials around him join forces to deal with him? Only when you transcend the Chaos Realm can you be truly transcendent. Among the 3 music masters at the banquet, Luo Feng chose her out of the desire to help. Phew, wow. The woman in green stood there, with streams of water around her. Using the streams as instruments, the sound rang out, just like the natural sounds of heaven and earth. This natural sound of heaven and earth even conformed to the laws of the operation of heaven and earth, and it aroused the ups and downs of Luo Feng's heart. Luo Feng had already used the 7 emotions mind-refining method to immerse himself more deeply in the feelings. I was so emotionally moved that I couldn't help but cry. Huh? The woman in green was a little surprised. Why would she cry while listening to music? She didn't dare to stop, and could only focus on playing the music illusion. She didn't dare to stop until Luo Feng said to stop. This great sage Luo, he seems to be easily moved by music. But at the banquet, he didn't care at all. The woman in green was very confident in performing the music magic. While observing Luo Feng, he performed music magic to ensure that there were no mistakes. "It's okay," Luo Feng suddenly said. The woman in blue had no choice but to stop. "Let's end it here today." Luo Feng stood up and walked out. Practitioners live too long and experience too much, so their emotions easily become numb. Although the 7 emotions refining heart method can drastically mobilize the emotions of the mind, over time, the strong stimulation of the emotions will also make the mind numb. So it is only necessary to do it occasionally. The 7 emotions mind refining technique is, after all, just an adjustment. The Great Destruction mind refining technique is the foundation. Luo Feng's 7 emotions mind refining technique turned into the Great Destruction mind refining technique. Luo Feng had long been accustomed to the pain of tempering his mind and will. Continuous tempering could also fill Luo Feng's mind with fighting spirit. "How much is it?" Seeing his master stand up, Morosa waved his hand to collect the food and wine in front of himself and his master, then looked at the woman in green. "It is a great honor for Qianyu Tower to have great sage Luo he come to Qianyu Tower." "There is no charge," said the woman in green. Morosa frowned. The master doesn't like to take advantage. "Tell me, how much is the fee?" 10 grains of cosmic sand are enough." The woman in green could only speak. Morosa waved his hand and 10 grains of cosmic sand flew out, then quickly left following Luo Feng. The green-clothed woman immediately followed and escorted them out until Luo Feng and Morosa broke through the air and disappeared. "Just leaving like that?" The woman in green was a little excited and a little nervous. "Chu Yuho Mansion. Brother Luo he went to Qianyu Tower?" Di Chuyu naturally received the news. With Luo Feng's current strength, Di Chuyu was very concerned about the guest's every move. On the one hand, he was afraid that other first-class marquises would try to win him over. On the other hand, he was also worried that something was not done well, which would cause the relationship between the two sides to deteriorate. Di Chuyu knew very well that even if they were friends in the past, it did not mean they would always be friends. Friendships need to be maintained. Brother Luo he liked to listen to music when he was in Huyang City. He was often so immersed in it that he even lost his composure occasionally. Di Chuyu laughed. It was because of Luo Feng's loss of composure that some eternal true gods in Huyang City thought that Luo Feng had a weak mind and will and was a mediocre eternal true god. It also led to Luo Feng's first move in Huyang City, when he reached out and grabbed the true god heart of Vice President Lai Mo. At the Dao discussion banquet, he listened to Yu Yuyi's music and magic. Since he went there privately, he obviously liked it very much. Di Chuyu thought for a moment and immediately instructed his followers. "Take my mansion token and go to Qianyu Tower." Di Chuyu ordered immediately. "Yes, my lord." The attendant immediately responded. Luo Feng only came to Qianyu Tower once, but many forces in Chu City paid attention to him. Because according to their understanding of this law her great sage hated evil and had few ordinary hobbies, that is, he liked delicious food, good wine, and listening to music. Yu Yuyi's name was also collected by many forces. The great sage Luo he likes your music and magic, which is a great opportunity for you. This is the token of our Chu Yu Marquis Mansion. Just show the token when you encounter trouble. You can also contact me through a message. The personal attendant of the first-class Marquis of the royal family, who has a high status in the outside world, came to the shallow language tower with several guards and gave the token to Yu Yuyi. After giving the token, the personal attendants left. Yu Yuyi took the token of the Chu Yu Marquis Mansion and felt that all the troubles were gone and she was completely free. In fact, even without this token, a Chaos Realm Transcendent came to the shallow language tower to listen to her music and magic. This piece of news alone was enough to make the Shuekai lieutenant afraid. Luo Feng's days in Chudu were very peaceful. If he was at the peak of the Chaos Realm, there were still many forces that dared to provoke him and had conflicts of interest with him. But after Luo Feng became a Chaos Realm Transcendent, everyone took the initiative to make friends with Luo Feng, including those first-class marquises. Of the 7 first-class marquises in the Di Chu lineage, the other 6 are quite impressive. Luo Feng made a judgment based on the intelligence and personal contact. Only the Marquis Chu is a little crazy. During this period, only Chu who had been avoiding Luo Feng, and they had never met. Luo Feng also knew that Chu who had the royal blood of the Thunder ancient country and was also cultivating with the help of the Han Yuan bloodline. The fundamental reason for his brutality and madness was still due to his cultivation path. Brother Luo He, Brother Luo He. Luo Feng suddenly received a message, hurry up and get ready, the ancestors' personal guards are here. Luo Feng, who was meditating in the quiet room, was shocked. The ancestor was naturally Emperor Chu, one of the 13 emperors of the ancient Yangfeng country. The emperor's personal guards came. What were they going to do? According to Emperor Chu's previous speculation, the emperor might accept a disciple. Huh. Luo Feng quickly left the meditation room and waited patiently. Morosa sensed that Luo Feng had come out and immediately rushed to his side. Master, you're coming out so soon? Morosa said. A distinguished guest will arrive soon. Luo Feng instructed, be careful. Distinguished guest? Morosa understood and immediately waited on the side. After a short while, 9 figures appeared out of thin air in the sky. One of them was Emperor Chu, and the other 8 were all wearing armors of Emperor Chu's personal guards, but the styles of the armors were different. The leader of the 9 figures was the Black Water figure, who was wearing black armor with blood-colored secret patterns on it. The ancestor has 3 personal guards around him. This one is General Xian Jiao. Di Chu introduced, General Xian Jiao, this one is the guest official from Luo He. General Xian Jiao was a burly man, with black water flowing slowly inside his armor. His eyes were filled with dead silence. Just looking at Luo Feng and Morosa made Luo Feng and his servant feel suffocated. When being watched, the world seemed to fall into dead silence, and the dead silence surrounded him. According to the intelligence, Emperor Chu has 3 personal guards, who are said to be not practitioners, but mysterious beings. Luo Feng felt a huge gap between them when he first met this General Xian Jiao. Not a practitioner, but so powerful? Luo Feng also knew that the ancient country of Yangfeng hid too many secrets, and even the many opportunities bestowed by the mysterious Yuan were mostly monopolized by the 2 ancient countries. Master, this General Xian Jiao is very scary. I can feel that I will be gone in one move. Morosa also telepathically transmitted to Luo Feng. Luo Feng immediately saluted, meet General Xian Jiao. Those ordinary personal guards are only eternal true gods, and they can reach the strength of the Chaos Realm with the help of some power. Luo He. General Xian Jiao looked at Luo Feng and his tone became a little more friendly. The Emperor intends to take you as his disciple. I wonder if you are willing? If you are willing, then come with me to the Emperor Chu Palace. If not, I will return to report. Luo Feng stood in the cave, looking at General Xian Jiao in the sky, and said without hesitation, it is my luck that the Emperor is willing to accept me as his disciple, so I am willing. Luo Feng was already prepared for the Emperor to accept a disciple, and he had thought about it carefully. Among the 13 emperors of the royal family of the ancient Yangfeng kingdom, Emperor Chu is extremely powerful. The few times he made moves recorded in history all swept away other ancient beings. He is relatively low-key and has no bad reputation. He usually concentrates on cultivation. Luo Feng was still willing to become Di Chu's disciple. After all, he knew very well that with the help of his master, he could avoid many detours. Okay, follow me. General Xian Jiao finally smiled, waved his hand, and an invisible wave carried Luo Feng, and flew to the Di Chu palace together. Brother Luo He, congratulations. During the flight, Di Chu also congratulated. It's also thanks to Brother Chu for bringing me to Chudu. Luo Feng also thanked him. Ha ha. With Brother Luo He's strength, he will be able to get up quickly even without me. Di Chu said. Soon, led by General Xian Jiao, Luo Feng and his men arrived in front of the Emperor Chu palace. You all step back. I will take Luo He to see the Emperor. General Xian Jiao said. Yes. The guards retreated, and Di Chu stood outside the Di Chu palace with a slight smile, and did not continue to follow. Then, Luo Feng followed General Xian Jiao into the palace that seemed to blend into the chaos and darkness. After a moment, Luo Feng and General Xian Jiao entered an ancient hall together. They saw a burly figure sitting on the floor in the hall. This burly figure was sitting in the center of the endless heaven and earth, as if the heaven and earth would perish, but he would not. His breathing was more terrifying than the power of heaven and earth. When he looked at Luo Feng felt as if he was facing the origin of life. Luo Feng understood that the person in front of him should be Emperor Chu, one of the 18 emperors of the royal family. Emperor. General Chu saluted. Luo, he brought it to you. The emperor nodded slightly, and General Chu immediately entered and left the hall. Luo he. Chu looked at Luo Feng with a smile. I have carefully learned about your past in recent times. You are from the original universe. Luo Feng was shocked, but he didn't hide it and immediately bowed. Yes, I am indeed from the original universe. The emperor smiled and praised. The creatures in the original universe are extremely powerful. It is difficult to grow from a weakling to a true god. You can reach the stage of transcendence in the chaos realm. It is really great. Don't be nervous. The countless ancestors of today's practitioners almost all came from the original universe. They came to the origin continent and reproduced for endless years to have so many lives. Emperor Chu said, the original natives of the origin continent are almost all in the East Pole region. Luo Feng also knew this. Let me ask you again, are you the reincarnation of a cultivator? Emperor Chu asked again. Even though the Yangfeng ancient country had sophisticated means, they were unable to break through the operation of the supreme rules. No? Luo Feng shook his head. Chu nodded. Among the 13 emperors, I have the fewest disciples, only 2. Chu looked at Luo Feng. I accept disciples because I value talent and the compatibility of temperament between the master and the disciple. You have good talent and I like your personality, so I decided to accept you as my disciple. The emperor said, before you become my disciple, think carefully about whether you really want to become my disciple. Becoming a disciple is a matter of great cause and effect. The master-disciple relationship is no less than that of blood relatives. The emperor said, the master chooses the disciple, and the disciple also chooses the master. Think carefully first. Once you become my disciple, some of the other top beings in the origin continent will no longer accept you as a disciple. Of course, Luo Feng understood that the relationship between master and disciple is a great cause and effect. But how many of the top beings in the origin continent would be interested in him? Luo Feng also had a temper, and he was unwilling to become a disciple of some extremely sinful beings. Disciple has thought it through. Luo Feng immediately knelt down and touched his head to the ground, bowing deeply. Disciple Luo Feng, I pay my respects to the master. The emperor, Luo Feng, was startled. Luo Feng is my real name. Because of some causes and consequences, I have always used the name Luo He. Luo Feng decided to become an apprentice, so he naturally no longer concealed his real name. Ha ha ha. Good, good, good. The emperor laughed when he heard it. From today on, Luo Feng, you will be the third direct disciple of my Emperor Chu. Luo Feng, you need my help to resolve the cause and effect that you are involved in, said the emperor. No need, I can handle it. Luo Feng said. Chu nodded with satisfaction. Since you are entangled in karma, I will keep your real name secret for you. The disciple has to solve the problem by himself. Chu is very happy to see this scene. You are becoming my disciple today, and I have prepared 3 gifts for you. Chu looked at Luo Feng. The first gift is the 2 inheritances you chose, the first calamity of the 8 tribulations life form and the first volume of the 72 blades of destruction. Once you have mastered them, you can get the subsequent inheritance for free. Of course, the inheritance I can give you for free does not exceed the ultimate realm of the God King. Emperor Chu said. Luo Feng was pleasantly surprised. Until you reach the ultimate realm of God King, all the contents of these 2 inheritances can be obtained for free? The first calamity of 8 calamities life form and the first volume of Severing 72 Swords that I have obtained now are both at the first level of the Divine King realm, and are worth about 100,000 merits. If I go one step further, the second level of the Divine King realm, this level of method will require about 3 million merits. The third level of the Divine King realm, the Ultimate realm, requires 100 million merits. In order to obtain these methods, some guests of the God King need to fight for their lives for the ancient country of Yangfeng. The 2 inheritances are worth about 200 million merits. As long as you reach the realm, you can get it for free. This is the difference between outsiders and direct disciples. My second gift for you. Chu looked at Luo Feng and took out a stone box. When the box was opened, 10 reddish fruits were placed inside. Just smelling the fruit fragrance, Luo Feng felt that his soul was nourished and his thinking speed increased several times. This is the Hunyuan crystal spirit fruit which was given to me by the ancestor. It is of no use to me now, so I will give you 10 of them. This Hunyuan crystal spirit fruit is the fruit of a fruit tree that is cultivated and grown with Hunyuan crystal jade. It has a miraculous effect on nourishing the soul. After taking it, it will be more in line with the supreme rules and greatly improve your understanding. Emperor Chu said, this is not a product from the inner world of the origin. The quantity is extremely rare and cannot be exchanged for merits. It must be used sparingly. I suggest that you take 5 fruits at the Chaos Realm level. At the first level of the Divine King realm, take another 5 fruits. Yes, Master. Luo Feng felt the Master's intention. Chu looked at Luo Feng. What weapon do you use most often? Luo Feng flipped his hand and took out the blood shadow knife. It's this knife. Emperor Chu took a look and asked, is it a God King level sword embryo? Chu thought for a moment and took out a ball of colorful mud. He threw it casually, and the colorful mud fell on the blood shadow knife. The blood shadow knife swallowed it up completely in the blink of an eye. Originally, your sword embryo could only reach the first level of Divine King weapon. Emperor Chu said, now its potential has increased a lot, and it is expected to reach the ultimate level of Divine King weapon. But I have given you the main materials, and you need to make some auxiliary materials yourself. Because for a sword embryo, the most important thing is for you to nurture it yourself. This is the detailed method of nurturing weapons. As Emperor Chu spoke, a stream of light fell on Luo Feng. It was a secret method of nurturing weapons. Emperor Chu looked at Luo Feng and said, the ancestor has ordered that even if you are a direct disciple, you still need to accumulate merits by yourself. Master has done a lot for his disciples. Luo Feng was very grateful. Each of these 3 gifts is of extremely high value. I am not good at teaching disciples. Chu looked at Luo Feng. I am not good at the origin of life, so you have to rely on yourself. As for the origin of destruction, it happens to be my path. If you have any confusion, you can ask me. Luo Feng nodded. Disciple understands. Do you have anything you want to ask now? Chu looked at Luo Feng. Not yet. Luo Feng shook his head. Are you kidding? My own avenue of destruction is still at a low level, and even chaos can't reach the top level. I am still in a period of rapid growth. I will ask when I really encounter a bottleneck and it is difficult to make progress. Okay. Chu smiled and nodded. As my direct disciple, there are many special tasks, and you can choose first. They will be issued to the first-class dukes of the royal family later. Understood. Luo Feng nodded. Go ahead, practice well, and become a God King soon. Among my disciples, there is not a single God King. Emperor Chu said with emotion. Disciple will definitely work hard. Luo Feng immediately bowed. Disciple will take his leave. Luo Feng immediately left the hall. Looking at the chaos and darkness outside the hall, Luo Feng felt a little excited. The 10 Hunyuan crystal spirit fruits given by Master Chu are of great benefit to cultivation just by smelling them. If they are really used, how good will the effect be? This is the first time I have encountered such a rare treasure since I came to the origin continent. Luo Feng couldn't wait to go back and try one first. In the hall, Emperor Chu watched Luo Feng leave. My third disciple. Emperor Chu looked at him and shook his head slightly. It's a pity that my ability is limited. I can't guide my disciples' practice well. For example, Emperor Qing among the 13 emperors, because his realm is high enough, even if he teaches disciples of different paths, he can quickly find out the disciples' problems and guide them to a good method. What about Emperor Chu? He can only give more precious resources. The rest depends on the disciples themselves. What's wrong with accepting a disciple? Emperor Chu looked at the endless world outside the hall. This source world will eventually come to an end. By then, how many people will be able to survive? Even the first ancestor was walking in darkness. Di Qing has also embarked on this path, and he will hopefully help the first ancestor in the future. The other 12 of us are indeed strong enough in the origin continent, but if we leave this origin world, what will we be? And my disciples, I'm afraid, don't even have the qualifications to leave the source world. Cherish the fate with them in this source world. Emperor Chu shook his head gently, closed his eyes and began to practice. This video will end here.